Guess who got brands talking? Brandlife.co.za.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Love and Relationship. We're here in the studio with our great friends, great fathers. Today we will be talking about great fathers. We spoke about true fatherhood last Monday, and we had a lot of positive feedback from people understanding, what fatherhood really is. And today we want to continue on that discussion. And I still have with me the guests that were here last Monday. And I believe this is going to be very interesting. Please don't go anywhere. Just stay right there. And you will really be blessed. I would like to give my guests room to introduce themselves and what they do and how we can also connect with what they do. So I give my first guest.
Hi, my name is Jaco. I'm the dad and the founder of the Character Company, which is an organization that do long-term mentorship work with young boys that grow up with absent fathers. Our aim is to raise boys to be good men.
Wow, that's interesting. And I learned that he's raising about 90 boys, with him. It's a great work. To me, it's the first time I've heard about this. I met him some years ago, and that connection got stuck in my heart that, wow, somebody's doing this kind of thing. So he's here with us, and I believe he will give great contributions to our discussion. And then I go over to my second guest on my left.
Thank you, Pastor Ndon. My name is Papa Stephen, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm in charge of Bread of Life Foundation. We have churches, we have a social work, we have also businessmen platform where we gather to discuss how to bring wealth in the kingdom of God.
Wow, that's interesting. I was in his program yesterday, and it was awesome. You're doing a great work there.
Thank you.
I really thank God for that.
Thank you.
And today we will be discussing about great fathers. The question that comes to my mind is, who is a great father? What can we describe as a great father? I would like to start with Yak. I mean, when you want to have a picture of a great father, because you see, some people don't even know what to look up to. So what we want to do is to try and paint a picture of who will we call a great father? What will a great father look like?
I think if you look at it from both ends, so I think for a man to be a great father, I think we talked about last week, is someone that's going to be real, someone that's going to be vulnerable and prepared to just be a real person, someone that's prepared to kind of, anyway, step down to the level of his children and spend that time with him, and where they can have a real impact. Where from a child's perspective, I think looking up at a real father would be someone that would show me the example. So some of the material we use, we've got this picture of this big wire frame, of this big man in a wire frame, and inside this frame there stands this little boy. And when I looked at it the first time, I think for me what was so powerful about that was that the feeling I had that when you grow up with a father that's present in your life, you get to fill that frame because your father provides the example. So you get to grow into that space. And yet when I look at that little boy, I felt that when you grow up with an absent father, you will never quite fill that space. And I feel it when I talk to people who've had great dads or positive male role models in their life. I can always sense that I fill a lesser space than they do, just because they've had that experience. And so I think from a child's perspective, that must be someone that you can look up to, someone that's going to guide you. For our boys, it's someone that's going to make them believe in themselves. And for our daughters, it's going to set a standard for the kind of man that they would like to marry one day.
Yeah. Wow, that's very interesting. I've taken one key thing you've said there. Someone who's going to be an example. It is very important. You cannot, like the Bible says, you don't do something different from what you preach.
Yes.
The Bible says those who do what they say will become great in the kingdom. But those who, do something else different from what they say, it's easy to preach. When you preach, you feel good, but do you practice what you preach?
Of course.
So the example is very important. And I come over to Papa Stephen. What will you describe as a great father?
To head towards our brother Jaco say, for me, a grandpa is inspiration.
Okay.
Somebody who inspire you. Because if you look Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Jacob, I think, was inspired more from Abraham in matter of fighting for life, in matter of moving from one land to another one, in matter of building a family, more even than his father, Isaac. Because Isaac didn't suffer much. But if you see the way Abraham suffered and Jacob suffered, I think for me, Jacob was inspired more by Abraham to have children. He fought. To have riches. He fought. To move from former land to a new land, land of pagan life to a land of God. So he fought. And Jacob fought all his life. So I think he was more inspired by his grandpa than his pa. So it means for me, a grandpa is inspiration.
Wow, interesting. So we're talking about example and inspiration here. You know, I came across a passage of scripture that really left a strong impression in my heart. And that was somewhere in John chapter 4, where Jesus went to meet the Samaritan woman. And he asked her, can you give me water to drink? He said, who are you? I mean, you should have drawn. We don't have business together. You are a Jew, I'm a Samaritan, and all that. And he said, if you know who I am, you would have given me that water, and I will give you a living water. And the woman asked a very important question. I mean, after he said, you don't have something to draw and all that. But later when Jesus spoke about that, he asked him, are you greater than our father Jacob? Who dug this well, drank of it himself, and then we are beneficiaries still today. When I saw that place, it met something in me. And I said, what did Jacob really do in the real essence of it? The real essence is that Jacob made a mark that outlasted his generation. A mark that went to his children's children. And when I was trying to trace, I found out this woman was maybe in the 10th or 14th generation, I mean, from Jacob. So you can see such impact, such impartation that could transcend through many generations. That's why the woman could not see anybody greater than Jacob. He dug the well, drank it, his children. And I'm just, great, I'm still. So when I look at this picture, I also will want to contribute that a great father is someone who can make an impact, who can do something, like you said, become an example, inspire, but create something in his or her child's life that will be carried on to many generations to come. That they will still speak about what, great-great-grandfather did for us. You see, like today in this country, people celebrate Mandela as a father because of what he did. That has, the benefit has moved through from one generation to another. So it's one of the things we want to talk about. And also I want to ask this. We started discussing this before Yak came in, because you see, some parents have this mindset where they say you raise children to come and benefit you, children to come give you something. I mean, you get when you grow up. We're not saying it's wrong to, do something for your parents or something, but we were trying to discuss that mindset is not right, because even the Bible says that a good father lays inheritance for his children's children. So fathers and parents should learn how to benefit those children, to benefit their children, to benefit, you get what I mean, create that kind of system where your children will benefit and their children's children will benefit. So I don't know your own opinion. I wanted to ask, what will you say about fathers, who invest in their children as a business where they hope to, profit from as they grow up? They should bring returns to them, maybe not really in this culture, but in the African culture where we come from, it's normal. A lot of parents do that. So they sponsor you with everything they have. They expect you to, give back, which we're not saying it's not wrong to give back, but to make it like I don't know how to put it, an order in a system, I'm thinking is not right. I don't know what your opinion is to that.
Well, I think obviously parenthood is not business. It's not. And I think it's where we constantly just get it wrong, because it comes down to you know, parenting, it's like mentoring, it's relationship building.
Yes, yes.
It is,
Yes.
how do I distinguish between legacy and inheritance?
Wow.
Because legacy comes down with relationship. If I want to leave something behind, it should be a legacy. It should be that thing. It should be the well that is used for generations and generations. It shouldn't be money to dig a well. Because if I leave money to dig a well and I've had no relationship and I've had no input and I've built no character, there's not going to be a well that's going to be dug. It's going to be, the money's going to be used for all kinds of other things,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
parties and all kinds of stuff. So,
Yes.
so if I leave behind the money and hoping that there will be a well, it's not going to
There won't
happen
be any
because there's no
well.
relationship. I must leave a legacy behind where my children will work and sweat and aspire and have a dream to dig that well. I think that's what it comes down to, because otherwise it just becomes a business arrangement, and it cannot be that, because essentially what are we leaving behind, and what are we drawing from? The examples. If we're going to set the examples, so what are the examples that we're drawing from? The examples we're drawing from is mostly absent fathers, which is why our country is a mess and why we're so lost, why we as men are so lost, why our children are lost. And we have to start considering that, because if I build relationship and I spend the time, and it's a real understanding that God has given me this gift of a child, and I can nurture it and work with it and build and shape it. I mean, that's a mini version of me that I want to build.
Transfer
there.
what you have
Yes.
to the child to carry on.
Exactly. So in that relationship, should I grow older and my child grow successful, then as a natural outflow of the relationship, I wouldn't want my parents to suffer. I would want to look after them. I'd want to prepare.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean ATM parenting or ATM childing. It's not a question of, now it's my responsibility because I was told to. It must be, it's my responsibility because God has told me so. It's in my heart, and therefore I will
I
look
appreciate
after them.
that.
Yes,
Yes,
and
that's
sometimes it doesn't mean I'm going to provide them with money. It just means I'm going to be there and guide, and
Yes.
that's the essence of what it should be. It cannot be a situation of, well, I'm growing up and I'm being told that at some certain age I need to start paying over money. I have to pay back being a child. Because then we are essentially. I mean, I think the problem is that we don't seem to learn. Because that's what we're sitting with right now. The mess we're sitting with right now is because of the things that we keep on doing wrong. And if we knew how to do it differently, we would have done so, but we don't. And so we need the guidance, we need the mentorship, and that's where we need to fix this thing, where I need to step in and say, let me be a real dad. Let me be a mentor to my child. Let me build this relationship so we can fix things. We can't keep on thinking that it's going to miraculously just become better if we keep on doing the same thing.
I really get 2 points you've spoken about there. One, you said it's not a business, which is serious, because some parents look at it as a business. And number two, you mentioned one word which is very powerful, that's legacy. We are supposed to leave a legacy with our children. I mean, when people see your children, they can remember you, the life you lived. So that is very, very important. I think legacy really speaks about being a great father, And I want to speak to Papa Stephen. What is your contribution on the business parenthood thing?
Well, the first danger is to put the grandchildren in a position of being slaves somewhere, somehow. Because they are learning more about to give to parents and to grandparents than to perpetuate or to continue with the legacy. So they are in fear. Like in Africa, our society is in fear. When you didn't do anything to your parent, to your grandparent, so you'll be cursed. So that fear kept them slave instead of building them for their future. That is the big danger.
That's true.
And when you build a mindset of kids to be a slave, don't be astonished tomorrow. Africa is rich, but people are slaves.
Yes.
Because it's our fault first. It's not people come from far. Ourselves didn't rise our society in level to say, after me, things must continue. And we saw it many. From my background, French background, we saw people who today they are broken, but their parents were totally rich. Why? Because they never learned to continue. Number two, we are killing the memory. If a people lost memory, he's dead. is a slave. What is the memory here? The memory for us Christian. Abraham left something to Isaac. Isaac make it growing. And when Jacob came, he found it. He make it growing. When Jesus came, found the well which was you was talking. Samaritan kept the memory of continuing with the legacy. It's a memory. It's a living memory. The reason God say, keep this stone when they were crossing Jordan, keep this stone to tell your grandchildren that this is how God deliver us. Now we don't have memory. It's the reason we make the same mistake than our father, than our grandfather, because our memory is not turned to future, it's turned to past. And life is in front of us, not behind us. So that is a very big danger to keep kids in business of reaching parent than parent reaching kids. And to close this, your verse is so powerful. In my French version, Proverbs 17, it says this: the parents are crowned for the children, and the grandchildren become crowned for their grandfather. So means a grandparent must prepare the grandchildren to become crowned one day. Means they will continue with a legacy. Now, the danger here, we are losing memory and we still slaves somewhere, somehow, because we attend more to grandparents than to our future. And our kids are victims because they don't have anything. Because we are there for those, some of them are dead even. And we are there for those who are gone than those they are coming.
Right. That's a very powerful contribution there. And I think we will have to go on a short break. We will be back to continue this discussion. Please stay right there. This is a very, very interesting discussion.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Amen.
Making a bold statement yet blending into the surrounding suburbs of Melville, 27 Boxes is a realization of edgy design and practical implementation. A radical departure from the shopping malls of our generation, yet not a return to the high streets of our youth. 27 Boxes showcases the best of a shopping centre set in a garden, surrounded by the bohemian suburb that is Melville. 27 Boxes, shop, play, eat.
The station with the best music. Best music.
I love the music.
Best music.
brandlive.co.za.
Lunatic, cause I do what I want, and I get what I want when I want it.
You know life can be so ordinary. Boy meets girl, they said oh make a baby.
brandlive.co.za.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Love and Relationship. We're still speaking about great fathers. And, I picked a comment from what Papa Stephen said before we went on break. And you spoke about slavery, where children now, become slaves to look backwards, to repair a debt, than to look forward. And I think that is very important. Because you see, when a person is not free to do what the person wants to do, I mean, when you get a loan from a bank, you know how it is. Even if you see a good business opportunity to invest, you cannot do that until you've paid back the loan you got from the bank. So sometimes, when a parent invests in a child with a payback mentality, it makes the child like a slave, like someone who got a loan, who must pay back before doing anything with his or her life. And we're trying to say that is not a good thing to do. So what we're trying to do here is to give understanding and direction to parents on how to, do it right. Because I believe that according to the saying which I've heard before, your child should be greater than you. And your children should be greater.
Exactly.
I believe that our generation should be like that. So, but if they always have to pay back what they got, where is opportunity to invest and be greater? And another thing we want to look at is, good parenthood. Because sometimes you see some children say they never had a good upbringing, they never had, even though they had parents, they never had good parenthood, So, I mean, in a nutshell, what do you think is very important in parenting a child? Now we're speaking about the man and the woman, doing the parenthood of a child. What are the necessary things that you people, after being fathers for years, think is very important for a man and his wife to work together and parent the child? What other things, Jaco, you think is important?
Sure, now I have to go first. I think one of the things I've come to learn about parenthood is that I think parenting is pretty much just try not to mess up your children too much. I think it comes down to, it's not about. I often find that the best advice I can give is on how not to do things, and I think with parenthood that comes down to it. But it also is, and I can't stress enough about the relationship that there is. But it's also the understanding is why we're doing this. It's what is the expectation that we're trying to set there, and as a parent, one of the things that's important is to know yourself. Is to know, find your own identity first. And because when you're a parent and you don't have your own identity, then your identity is going to be, you're going to try and find your identity in your children, which is where it comes to, I wanted to be a soccer player, or I wanted to be a artist, or I wanted to be the best piano player, or whatever, and I couldn't do it because I didn't understand my identity, and maybe I didn't understand my purpose. I didn't understand what God really wanted for me, and now I'm going to transform all of that on my child. And so my child, he wears two left boots.
Talented child.
He has got no ball skills. He's got no, and I want him to, and so I'm forcing him now into this role of doing this thing that he hates, absolutely hates, and probably really suck at. He's like can't do it, and that's going to ruin our relationship because I'm going to want to see that in him. He's not going to be able to do that, and I'm not allowing him to grow in any space in his own identity. And we're going to just have a horrible relationship, and we're going to have a horrible soccer player, and someone that can't play the piano, or it's going to just be a big mess. And it's because it starts with me. It's what am I building here? What's the expectation? What am I trying to achieve here that I couldn't achieve? And we have to understand that this is about shaping and mentoring and guiding, but in that space, not killing. We have to allow, because mentorship is it's not a copy and paste thing. Mentorship is guidance. It's not, I would imagine it's the difference between managing and leading. And if I'm mentoring correctly, it means I can guide, but I would allow enough space in there for that personality, that identity to form, and to be okay with that. So maybe my child is not going to be a rugby player. Maybe he wants to be a ballet dancer, and maybe I don't like that. But maybe that's none of my business. My business should be to guide him to be the best possible version of him that he's going to be, because in that lies the richness of what I can give. Papa Stephen said it last week about that, about the resources without the mentoring. If I can give my child all of that, the love and the guidance, and mentoring him through that, then man, he's going to be just the best possible version of himself. What can I ask more for? That is going to be the legacy that I can leave behind.
That's the thing. And that's one thing I believe in. You see, we grew up in a culture where, like in the African culture, one of the professions that mattered most was being a doctor, an engineer, and all that, where parents see it as financial, returns to bring more financial return if you're a doctor, an engineer, and all that. And they force these kids into different things, which they cannot express themselves. They are gifted, but like he said, they become slaves. They cannot express themselves. What will you say about parenthood there? And there's one other question I want you to touch on because of our time. The question about how much should the parents be involved in making decisions, for the children? Where do we give them the room to discover themselves?
I think to head to identity matter, which our brother spoken, we are facing the problem of creating a good environment where people can choose well. Our children can choose well. I'll give you an example. When Abraham fought with Lot about the space where they were living, God say, lift your eyes up. Means you'll make your choice basing on what you see from up, not what you see from down. From down, you have crisis, but your eyes must be up, where you'll have more possibility of choices. Now, Lord choose by looking down. He see the grace. He see the beautiful land. He chose Sodom and Gomorrah. But Abraham looked up and he saw trees. So it doesn't look well for somebody who have pastage, who need pastage and but God says where things will happen. So God turned those trees to become a nice land for them, for Abraham. A parent must look up. If you look down, you are going to say to kids, okay, you become this because of this. Because you divorce, you say, okay, my children, all the women are just dogs. And the mother will say, all the men are just dogs. So how come dogs are giving birth to human beings? You see that because you are looking up. But if you look down,
yes,
so. But if you look up, then you can give them possibilities, because from up, there is all possibilities. Rain will come from up. A future is up. Everything's up. So we must stop to look down on ourselves, look down on where we are coming from, look down on our skin color, look down on our diploma. It's better to look future. When you look future, you don't react from emotions. African, we are more emotional on decision than rational. Rational means what is up. Up there, technology change. Today we are online radio. Now, if you look down, you'll send your kids to go to learn things which are
will not even be necessary.
It's over already.
Yeah.
But if you look up, you say, hey, go to see technology. If you look down, you'll say, be careful, technology is witchcraft. How people can speak without cables. So no, you're looking down because we are coming from witchcraft society. But if you look up, you say, go to learn internet. It's not killing you. It's giving you opportunity. So let us stop to look down. Let's look up.
That is very, very interesting. I think, in wrapping up, this was a very interesting discussion. I've come to discover that, parents need to, find out the giftings and the talents in their children. Because like he's saying, looking up simply means opening your mind to a lifetime of possibilities. It doesn't mean that it did not happen in your time. It will not happen in your children's time. A lot of parents want to work with what they are used to, where they are not open to new possibilities. I remember growing up, many of us wanted to do medicine, engineering, those kind of courses. But, very soon I found out that the footballers are making more money than these engineers.
They look up.
By then, if you say you want to play football, your dad is going to give you some, spanking. What do you mean? What's playing football, But, things are happening. Things are changing. So please, we're saying to parents out there, look into your children and find the giftings they are good in. Like you talked about producing the best in that field. That is what I've been trusting God for. My son says he wants to be an artist. I've never had anybody who's an artist in my family, but I say if that is his gifting, by the grace of God, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to work. I'm going to make sure he becomes the best artist ever. Amen. And I think that parents need to trust God for what they have. Not to depend on their parents, their children, Because you see, when you know that you have to do something that will leave a legacy behind, then you will work hard. You will make sure you develop yourself, build up yourself. What you're doing is going to last for generations to come. So we shouldn't just look within just in few years, I just need to train this boy 4 years and he's out. And this is one of the reasons I believe we have these issues. Some parents think that they are done with parenthood when the child has graduated from the university. I'm done. Now I'm waiting for the returns,
the business.
But sometimes that's when the child really needs your guidance. I like the word mentorship. I think that is the word we should use. Mentor our children. Let us mentor our children. Not just try to, do some investment like CEOs, in their lives and expect a return. Please, parents, let's mentor our children and we will be happy in future. Thank you very much for listening. And I want to thank my guests for coming through. Thank you very much, Jaco. It's been interesting. You're a regular here, so you just keep your phone open. I want to thank Papa Stephen too.
Thank you, sir.
He's been here and he will continue to be here.
Thank you,
and
sir.
I thank the listeners too. I hope you learned something today. Please, if you want to get to us, you can contact me on 0782554517 or send us a mail on info@brandlife.co.za. Thank you. Until same time next week.
Next time.
Stay blessed. God bless you. Thank you.